Learning outcomes. Upon completion, you should be able to gain a general understanding of the NERC-CIP standards CIP-004-6 on personnel and training and CIP-005-6 on electronic security perimeters. Recognize the requirements of each of the two NERC-CIP standards, CIP-004-6 and CIP-005-6.
CIP 004-6 Personnel and Training. Purpose: to minimize the risk that could lead to misoperation or instability of the bulk electric system (BES) from individuals accessing BES cyber systems by requiring an appropriate level of personnel risk assessment, training, and security awareness. CIP 4-6 Personnel and Training. Applicability: Reliability Coordinator, Interchange Authority or Coordinator, Transmission Owner and Operator, Generation Owner and Operator, distribution providers that owns one or more of the following facilities, systems, and equipment for the protection or restoration of the BES. CIP 4-6 Physical Security of BES Cyber Systems. Applicability continued. Each under-frequency UFLS or under-voltage UVLS load-shedding system that is subject to NERC or regional reliability standards and/or requirements and performs automatically under a common control system without human operator initiation of 300 megawatts or more. Each remedial action scheme that is subject to NERC or regional reliability standards and/or requirements, cranking paths and element groups meeting initial switching requirements from a black start resource up to and including the first interconnection point of the starting station service of the next generation units to be started. CIP 4-6 Personnel and Training. Requirements: a process shall be implemented concerning security awareness to include, at least once each quarter, reinforced cybersecurity practices for personnel who have authorized electronic or authorized unescorted physical access to BES cyber systems. A cybersecurity training program shall be implemented appropriate to individual roles, functions, or responsibilities that include cybersecurity policies, physical access controls, electronic access controls, the visitor control program, and handling of BES cyber system information and its storage. CIP 4-6 Personnel and Training. Requirements: training content on required completion of the training is at least once every 15 months. Identification of a cybersecurity incident and initial notification in accordance with the entity's incident response plan, recovery plans for BES cyber systems, response to cybersecurity incidents, and cybersecurity risks associated with a BES cyber system's electronic interconnectivity and interoperability with other cyber assets, including transient cyber assets and with removable media. CIP 4-6 Personnel and Training. Requirements: a personnel risk assessment program shall be implemented to attain and retain authorized electronic or unescorted physical access to BES cyber systems that include process to confirm identity and perform a 7-year criminal history records check, current residence regardless of duration, and other locations where the subject has resided for 6 consecutive months or more. If it is not possible to perform a full 7-year criminal history records check, conduct as much as possible and document why the check could not be performed. Criteria to evaluate criminal history record checks for authorizing access, verification that personnel risk assessments have been performed for contractors and vendors, process to ensure that individuals have had a personal risk assessment completed within the last 7 years. CIP 4-6 Personnel and Training. Requirements continued. An access management program shall be implemented to include process to authorize, based on need, electronic access, unescorted physical access into a physical security perimeter, and access to designated storage locations, whether physical or electronic, for BES cyber system information. Verify at least once each quarter that individuals with active electronic access or unescorted physical access have authorization records. For electronic access, verify at least once every 15 months that all user accounts and groups or user role categories and their specific associated privileges are correct. Verify once every 15 months that access to the designated storage locations, whether physical or electronic, are correct and are those that the responsible entity determines are necessary for performing assigned work functions. CIP 4-6, Personnel and Training. Requirements. An access revocation program shall be implemented to include a process to remove an individual's ability for unescorted physical access and interactive remote access upon termination within 24 hours. Revoke access to the designated storage locations for BES cyber system information, whether physical or electronic, by the end of the next day. Revoke non-shared user accounts within 30 days of termination. Change passwords for shared accounts known to the user within 30 days. If extenuating operating circumstances require a longer time period, change the passwords within 10 days following the end of the operating circumstances. For reassignments or transfers, revoke the individual's authorized electronic access to individual accounts and authorized unescorted physical access by end of the next day. CIP 005-6, Cybersecurity, Electronic Security Perimeter. Purpose: to manage electronic access to BES cyber systems by specifying a controlled electronic security perimeter in support of protecting BES cyber systems against compromise that could lead to misoperation or instability in the BES. CIP 5-6, Electronic Security Perimeter. Applicability: Reliability Coordinator, Balancing Authority, Interchange Authority or Coordinator, Transmission Owner or Operator, Generation Owner or Operator, Distribution Provider that owns one or more of the following facilities, systems, and equipment for the protection or restoration of the BES. CIP 5-6, Electronic Security Perimeter. Continued applicability. Each under-frequency UFLS or under-voltage UVLS load-shedding system that is subject to NERC or regional reliability standards and/or requirements and performs automatically under a common control system without human operator initiation of 300 megawatts or more. Each remedial action scheme that is subject to NERC or regional reliability standards and/or requirements. Cranking paths and element groups meeting initial switching requirements from a black start resource up to and including the first interconnection point of the starting station service of the next generation units to be started. CIP 5-6, Electronic Security Perimeter. Requirements. An electronic security perimeter process shall be implemented to include cyber assets connected via a routable protocol residing within a defined ESP, external routable connectivity through an identified electronic access point, inbound and outbound access permissions, including the reasons for granting access and deny all by default, authentication when establishing dial-up connectivity with cyber assets, methods for detecting known or suspected malicious communications for both inbound and outbound communications. CIP 5-6, Electronic Security Perimeter. Requirements. An interactive remote access management process shall be implemented to include utilization of an intermediate system such that the cyber asset initiating interactive remote access does not directly access a cyber asset. Interactive remote access sessions utilize encryption that terminates at an intermediate system. Multi-factor authentication for all interactive remote access sessions.